Hey everyone, Ariel here with aBlogtoWatch at MicroLUX Chicago. I'm joined by Francis Jacquery. Thank you. So Francis, you and I have known each other remotely for a while.
Yes.
And several years ago with the Techne brand, you came out with a model called the Sparrowhawk.
Yes.
And this model was the right blend of a lot of things. Design, price, movements. It got a lot of people excited.
That's true.
Now we are, I don't know, how many years ago was that?
That was 2010 or 2011.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
And you've made models since then?
Yes, we have had, I believe, 6 or 7 collections since then.
So we've had this little gap, right? So I knew you at the beginning, and now I know you now. I guess my question is, what have I missed in those last several years?
Okay, so the first collections were mechanical, and then we've had a lot of interest from, I would say, people who enjoy watches more as a fashion accessories than as mechanical high-end pieces. So the recent collections, we have focused on quartz models.
Have you gone back to mechanical? Are you blending the two?
We've gone back to mechanical, but with a new brand that we have introduced 2 years ago.
And tell me about that new brand.
Okay, so that brand is called Siduna. So it's an old Danish brand from Copenhagen. And back then they were trying to give high watchmaking value at affordable prices. So they were using Swiss movement. So we are doing the same today. And then they are trying to give a very good value for money on the rest of the components.
So to understand, the traditional brand that you created, Techne, is right now only quartz.
Yes, at the moment.
And you acquired a historic brand that you've revived, Siduna, which will house the mechanical movements.
Yes, that's correct.
So that's actually an interesting question. Why is it that for you, you can't have quartz and automatic living within the same brand? I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but for you, why not?
Well, we've had more customers for the quartz model with Techne. So we feel that we don't want to change a winning team. So it has been really going well. We have distribution in Japan, South Korea, in the USA. We also have retail in Australia and New Zealand. So we don't want to change that. But I wanted to go back to mechanical pieces, as you said. So then we decided to go with this brand, Siduna.
So for how many years did you have nothing to do with mechanical watches? How many years was it that you were just dealing with quartz?
So it was probably between 2014 and 2018. So I would say for 4 years, I focused on quartz models.
And you just missed mechanical so much, you had to get back into it, huh?
Exactly. So that's why I'm trying to get back to the game and exhibit at events like MicroLUX.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, with Techne, this is a brand that you created, your name. Yes, of course, it was inspired by things, but it was your own personality. And with Siduna, you're acquiring a brand that existed before, that has a history and some type of existence before you.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about the difference between creating a brand from nothing and then taking a brand and trying to revive it. From a creative, business, watch guy perspective, tell me about the differences.
Yeah, so Techne, I think it's like a lot of micro brands, it's starting with a blank page. So for me, it was really a challenge to see how far I could go, understand what I was capable of handling, and understand what were my limitations. And I guess with all that experience, then Siduna, I could strategize a little more and plan more in advance. With Techne, it kind of happened organically. And with Siduna, I'm trying to have a little more control in how I steer it.
Tell me a little bit more about that control. Where do you want it to go, and what do you think that Techne could have benefited from if that control had existed?
Well, the main difference is how much control I have over the process. So Techne, I work with factories from Hong Kong, and basically I still do the design 100%, but I receive the complete watch. So I outsource the quality control, if you want. And Siduna, we are based in Scandinavia, so we do the design, the engineering, the incoming quality control, and the assembly ourselves. So we really feel that we can offer a better service because we know who makes which part of the watch.
And just personally, is it difficult to juggle between the two? Or is it very clear to you, this fits in this brand and this fits over here in this brand?
No, I think the two brands have different identity. And in terms of workload, there is a little bit more involvement with a brand like Siduna. So I need to know each individual component supplier. And for me, it's interesting because it's more about the human relation. So actually, I have expanded from what I was doing with Techne. With Siduna, I get a broader perspective on how my watches are produced.
Do you feel limited by the design in Siduna? Because you look at the archives, you see the existing watches. Do you feel like you have to fit within that, or are you comfortable doing something more? Do you feel comfortable adding DNA to the history?
Yeah, that's a good question. So at the same time, well, I think the values of the brand were to offer high watchmaking content for an affordable price. So I think that's my guideline. But then when it comes to the models, maybe it will become a little bit stale if I just stick to reissuing old models. So I mean, the options are open for the future. I can try to maybe take some inspiration, but it's really about bringing the brand towards the future.
So this Siduna, what is the name of this model and how much does it cost?
Yes. So this model is the M3440.
M3440.
Yes, and it's actually the original Swiss Army number for that model. And so when it comes to the price, I'm not sure about US dollar, but in euro, it's about 1,860.
Okay.
But for North American customers, there is no VAT. So there's a.
So it'll be less.
It will be less. So I don't have it on the top of my.
$1,500, $1,600, something in that
yes,
range.
I think about 650 US dollars.
With the modified 7750.
Yes.
Good value proposition. So let's go back. And one of the questions that I like to ask people who created their own watch brand, why?
Why?
What made you want to start a watch brand?
I think two reasons. So I've always been a watch. Well, actually, let's make it three reasons. I've always been a watch enthusiast, so that's reason one. So even before working in the industry, I was collecting watches. Then number two, I actually got a chance to work in the industry, so I worked for Longines. And I think that you have met the CEO, Mr. Von Canal.
Of course.
So he's a great person, and I really learned a lot from working with him and seeing how he takes decision and how he can take a brand with a lot of history and bring it towards the future.
Have you heard him sing before?
Sing, maybe at some company event, company supper, probably.
Okay, so he likes to do that. He likes to do that.
Yes.
He's very good at bringing you into his world.
Yes.
What did you learn from working within a big brand like that, within the Swatch Group, that you think allowed you to maybe have a running start when it comes to your own brands?
The first thing is they are very pragmatic. So it's about understanding the constraints and trying to work with the constraints. And then the second is they are very good at storytelling. So they are good at knowing all the details about a brand and bringing them along whenever they develop a new collection or they try to expand to a new market.
So let's talk about marketing a little bit. For a smaller brand, it's very challenging because for the most part, you put all of your money into the product. That's where it needs to go because it's so competitive out there. What is it like from a marketing perspective when you have so many marketing options out there? I'm sure just you're constantly being thrown opportunities and you know you can't do them all. Mm-hmm. How do you decide how to discuss your product with the world and share it? How do you make that decision? Because I know that a lot of people in your position as small brand owners or even that work at small brands find it very confusing. Mm-hmm. How do they approach marketing? What would you say to them?
I think it's about understanding what you are bringing to the table, and it's important to understand how you are different and to lean on that. So with Techne, 10 years ago, there were a lot of diverse watches. And I took a clear decision, okay, I'm not going to make a diverse watch because there are a lot of people doing that very well. So I chose the aviation and military theme. And 10 years ago, then that's the one thing that helped me to stand out.
And today, there's so much of it.
Yes.
Maybe you set a trend.
I hope so.
So is that always going to be a part of the Techne brand, having kind of a military aviator theme?
Yes, so it has been, one of the driving elements of the brand. And now we are looking at a little bit introducing different types of straps. So from the beginning, we were using the NATO strap, but now I think you can find it everywhere. So recently, we've been looking into different ideas, maybe thinking more about reusing materials. Because actually, Techne, since the beginning, we have been offsetting the carbon footprint of our production. So that's a possible direction in which we are looking at the moment.
You, as the brand founder, are always going to be the best ambassador of your company because you start it and you understand it. One of the biggest challenges that a lot of these companies have is scaling. How do you hire someone or bring someone aboard that can do what you do, maybe a little bit like you, but enough so that they can do it for you when you don't have to do it?
Okay.
What have you found, because you've been doing this for almost 10 years now, is a right way to scale so that it still feels like a personally run company, but that you don't have to run around like a crazy person doing everything yourself?
Yes. Yes, I think the first thing is understanding what you can do well and what you cannot. And then for what you cannot, then you need to find people who can actually do it better than you can. So it's about identifying strengths and weaknesses. And then the important thing is also to be structured. So you need something to be organized in a way that a person can easily start working with it. So it should not all be in the head, but you should have it laid down either on paper or on
And would you say that you've successfully applied these rules to your own life?
Yes. So it's at the moment we are three to own the company. So there's my direct associate who helps me a lot with the financial side, and it's formatted in a way that she can understand it and we can interact. So yeah, I think we have managed to combine the skills and to work in a complementary manner.
As someone who clearly likes to be ahead of the curve, you did that 10 years ago, and today you're thinking about how to do it again.
Yes.
What are you hoping will give you the ability to continue to separate yourself that other people won't be able to catch up to for a little while?
Yes. Yeah, I think it's amazing to see how this industry is growing, and there's a lot of talented people who come, and I think the way is moving towards more quality, more added, more value-added content. So it's about maybe moving away from Hong Kong or Chinese manufacturing, moving more towards Swiss, but it's going to be about starting to use different types of movements and higher level of detailings. So basically, I think it's about moving more towards the institutional brands.
So what you're telling me, if I understand, is that the natural progression of a smaller brand for you is to grow to become a lot more like the bigger brands. And that's naturally where you should go in order to effectively scale, but also to keep adding value to consumers from where you're understanding what they want. They want a better watch. Are they willing to pay more money?
I think, yes, with a growing appreciation, then customers, basically, affordable watches are a gateway to watch collecting. So I think that the more consumers mature, the more they will look for niche products or something that is different from the rest.
So again, Siduna, this watch right here, which is beautiful, has a price point of about 1,800 euros. What would you say is the average price point of the Techne watches?
So Techne, it's between $160 US all the way to 230.
So very different levels.
Yes.
Francis, thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you very much, Ariel.